dressed last night, like you tonight. Have a good show.
Thanks, buddy. I'll catch you tomorrow. Connell, thank you. Hello, welcome to Washington. This is The Hill. Strikes inside Mexico. What NewsNation is asking the VP tonight, plus the White House pumping the brakes. Which tariffs are on hold for now? That's Topping the Hill on NewsNation tonight.
We're not yet at 100% operational control, but we are on our way because that is the mandate that the president has given us.
Getting there at the border, the defense secretary says, as tonight, the vice president telling NewsNation what could happen next. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Blake Berman. This is The Hill on NewsNation. Normally, after the president's big address to Congress and really to the nation, they hit the road. They go on out. They tout their big ideas. But today, it was the vice president, the defense secretary, the director of national intelligence delivering the message, traveling to the southern border. Vice President Vance asked by NewsNation if strikes could occur inside Mexico now that the cartels have been labeled as foreign terrorist organizations.
So look, I'm not going to make any announcements about any invasions of Mexico here today. The president has a megaphone, and of course he'll speak to these issues as he feels necessary.
Now, the president did have his own message for both our neighbors to the south and to the north. After a phone call with Canada's Justin Trudeau, the White House says auto tariffs on Canada and Mexico are on hold for now.
Reciprocal tariffs will still go into effect on April 2nd, but at the request of the companies associated with USMCA, the president is giving them an exemption for 1 month.
Our Kelly Meyer live tonight from the White House on the red light for those auto tariffs. Joe Khalil in a moment on a big meeting set to happen tonight with Elon Musk and Republicans. But we begin with our Allie Bradley down along the southern border today and questioning the vice president about what could come next. Allie?
Yeah, hey, Blake. So we heard the vice president talk about these potential strikes in Mexico, considering the cartels are now labeled as foreign terrorist organizations. But he said they're really hopeful that that isn't going to be the case, that Mexico will essentially play ball, that they will come to the table, and that they'll be able to work it out kind of diplomatically instead of having to go after the cartels. We know Mexico has taken a stance. They're trying to kind of tamp down on some of these fentanyl labs, sending troops to the border, things like that. But that just hasn't been enough for President Trump. So it will be interesting to see what moves they make. But again, the cartel is present in all 50 states, so they're operating here. And we know that different groups are going after the cartel here right now. But when it comes to the boots on the ground, of course, you mentioned Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, both alongside the vice president down here in Shelby Park, which is notable, too, because Shelby Park has basically been the epicenter for this crisis, where in December of 2023, we were seeing on average 2,300 people a day. Yesterday, sources tell us only 14 people crossed into this sector, 270 across the entire southern border. So why was Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard down here at the border alongside the vice president? They always say, well, national or border security is national security. So take a listen to what they had to say about that visit.
The drone technology that the cartels are using requires, unfortunately, a military response and military support. So it was important for Secretary Hegseth to see what's going on.
So this all comes, as I mentioned, 14 people crossed. Blake, we know that the soft-sided facilities, those temporary processing centers, the one here, Firefly, those are now being shut down. They just don't have the people to put in there. They say that they have the facilities available for the number of apprehensions they're seeing. So right now, we know that the one in El Paso and the one in San Diego are going to remain until those numbers come down. El Paso saw around 73 people yesterday, but it's kind of a victory lap for Vance and team down here, Blake.
All right, our Allie Bradley live tonight along the southern border. Once again, Allie, thank you. Also this evening, the alleged mastermind behind the 2021 bombing at Abbey Gate during the botched Afghanistan withdrawal is now in U.S. custody. Mohammed Sharifullah, a member of the ISIS-K terrorist organization, appearing in a federal court in the Commonwealth of Virginia today. He now faces life in prison. The National Security Advisor, Michael Waltz, says the suspect confessed to planning the bombing that killed 13 U.S. service members. President Trump announced during his joint address to the nation the arrest last evening. The president of Panama, by the way, Jose Mulino, is now accusing President Trump of lying in his joint address about how the administration will be, quote, reclaiming the Panama Canal. Panama's president saying, I reject on behalf of Panama and all Panamanians this new affront to the truth and to our dignity as a nation. The canal is Panamanian and will continue to be Panamanian. The White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt stressing today the threat from China when asked about those comments.
The CCP cannot be infiltrated in the Western Hemisphere and certainly not in the Panama Canal, which is a very important place for our country.
President Trump has repeatedly demanded for Panama to lower the vessel fees for U.S. ships. Big developments tonight over at the White House on tariffs. President Trump now pulling back just a little bit on tariffs for the auto industry. The decision announced after a phone call with the leaders of the major American auto companies and another call with Justin Trudeau. Our Kelly Meyer live tonight with this decision out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Kelly?
Hey there, Blake. So White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying in that briefing we were in today that the White House spoke with the big three auto dealers, giving them a 1-month exemption on anything coming through the USMC or U.S., Mexico, and Canada trade agreement. So the White House says those reciprocal tariffs will still go into effect on April 2nd, but that at the request of the companies, the president is giving them an exemption for 1 month so they are not, quote, not at an economic disadvantage. So Trump spoke to Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors today.
He believes in tariffs because they'll ultimately make America rich again. They're going to raise revenue. They're going to help us pay down our debt. Most importantly, they're going to bring American jobs here back home. So I think for folks on Wall Street who may be concerned, look at what this president did for you in his first term.
So it comes as President Trump seems to be holding firm on his 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, even though he said he had a somewhat friendly call, he called it, with the Governor Trudeau of Canada, as he calls him. And he didn't indicate he was going back on his word on those tariffs, writing this on Truth after that. Quote, Justin Trudeau of Canada called me to ask what could be done about tariffs. I told him that many people have died from fentanyl that came through the borders of Canada and Mexico, and nothing has convinced me that it has stopped. He said that it's gotten better, but I said that's not good enough, end quote. So if Trump leaves some tariffs on Canada, Trudeau responding today, he is not willing to lift Canada's retaliatory tariffs. Blake.
And away we go. Our Kelly Meyer live at the White House. Kelly, thank you. Also tonight, less than 1 hour from now, House Republicans scheduled to meet with Elon Musk. A live look. The building behind me, Capitol Hill, where Musk is expected to address the concerns of Republicans, many of whom have faced angry town halls as the cuts and the job losses mount. Our Joe Khalil live inside the Capitol with what lawmakers are saying in advance of this meeting. Joe?
Yeah, Blake, so this is the House Freedom Caucus meeting with him in about an hour or so. This is a group that he is very well received in. If it's anything like the earlier meeting today, he met with Senate Republicans. I can tell you they, to a person, told me that it was a very good meeting with Elon Musk. Many senators told me that he was open about bringing them more into the fold. Why is that important? Because as you know, Blake, very well, lawmakers do not like learning about news from the news, especially when it comes to government. And the same goes for DOJ. They want to be more in the loop on what's going on with whether it's cuts or whether it's agencies being downsized before having to react to it after the fact. So they definitely said that they felt like he was more open to that. They really took that to heart. On the other side, you do have some concerns from Republican House members. They talked about going back to town halls. Take a listen to Congressman Rich McCormick, who is a supporter of DOJ, but had these concerns.
Elon Musk has been very candid and admitted he's made some mistakes along the way. But if you take your time, make sure you're doing it right, that you're not punishing people who are following the rules, doing good jobs, actually fulfilling a need that we have in the government, then I'm okay with it. But if we move too fast, we actually make a lot of mistakes, and then you anger the public too, which is never a good thing. So I want to make sure we do it right.
And Blake, one word I heard a senator describe today, Elon Musk, as humble about what DOJ is doing and potentially missteps that he hopes to correct. So an interesting perspective there that we hadn't heard yet, Blake.
In the Capitol hallway, Joe, thank you. All right, still to come here on the Hill, the fight over sanctuary cities.
Making sure everyone in our community is safe. That's a lie. Because it was not safer for the ICE agents who are part of your community. No way was it safer.
How mayors from big cities across the country responded today to lawmakers during a very contentious hearing earlier on the Hill. Plus, that meeting about an hour away, Musk and lawmakers. They'll be together in the same room. What will Republicans ask of him? We are finding out later here on the Hill. Welcome to Washington. This is the center of politics. I'm Blake Berman. You're watching the Hill here on NewsNation. I'll see you back in 4 minutes.
I know people push your buttons, but you still have to deliver.
Anything can change the world of work. ADP Assist is AI, informed by workplace data and designed for the next anything.
I love that my daughter still needs me, but sometimes I can't help due to burning and stabbing pain in my hands. So I use Nervive.
Nervive's clinical dose of ALA reduces nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days.
Now I can help again. Feel the difference with Nervive.
Last year, millions watched.
We are not supposed to be doing this.
Monday, two of the most prolific voices in media meet again. Chris Cuomo, Tucker Carlson. The conversation continues on NewsNation Monday.
You're a sanctuary city. This is the whole point.
No, sir, I disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you why. If you talk about sanctuary as a definition of shielding people from law enforcement, we do not do that. What we do is provide services. In this context, what we did is we coordinated the release.
An officer got assaulted because of your policy, which says we're going to release him to, in your words, not mine, to the streets.
Just one of the many heated exchanges today in a House hearing about sanctuary cities. The New York City Mayor Eric Adams sitting alongside the mayors from Denver, Chicago, and Boston. Now, these four mayors grilled about limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. Now, there are sanctuary jurisdictions in state, cities, and counties all across this country, making up roughly half of the United States. For example, Santa Cruz is about an hour south of San Francisco, and it has been a sanctuary city since the mid-1980s, 4 decades now. Its city council unanimously reaffirmed that sanctuary city status earlier this year. Joining me now is the Democratic mayor from Santa Cruz, Fred Keeley. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being with us tonight here on the Hill. Your area will not help and cooperate with ICE. Tell me why.
Well, we are of the belief that the federal government cannot federalize local police. We believe there's a distinction between the federal government and local government with regard to policing. What we think is the following. They establish their priorities in law enforcement. We establish our priorities. Where those align, that's just fine. Where they don't align, we are going to pursue our high priorities. Okay. And, however, none of that involves obstructing the federal government. It involves following our priorities.
Okay, so cannot federalize local police. I was looking at some cases in Santa Cruz, Mayor. 2022, the FBI reinvestigated a hate crime. 2008, it investigated fire bombings there. That was the FBI. I'm sure you had no problem with the FBI being involved then. Here was the mayor of Boston today about what she wants to see. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
If you wanted to make us safe, pass gun reforms. Stop cutting Medicaid. Stop cutting cancer research. Stop cutting funds for veterans. That is what will make our city safe.
Isn't there a contradiction there that you're happy to have the federal government's help, but when they want your help, you say not so fast? Is there a middle ground there at all?
Oh, well, I think the ground is this, that we cooperate when there are, for example, we had an MS-13 situation a few years ago. There was a joint federal, state, local task force for getting MS-13 out of here. No problem whatsoever. We have a shared alignment of values. But this is not a shared alignment of values, what they're doing at this point. We are not going to obstruct them, but we are going to not allow the federal government to federalize our police force.
So you say it's not shared values. I'm looking at average ICE arrests per day. President Biden, his administration was deporting on average 255 people per day, ICE was. Did President Biden not have your shared values?
Not on that issue. Not on that issue.
What about President Trump? What about President Trump at the border? Do you give him credit for Southwest border encounters dropping drastically down to 8,300 in February.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have it. The federal government is in charge of the borders, not the city of Santa Cruz. They want to secure the borders. That's their business. In the city of Santa Cruz, we'll set our priorities. The federal government can set theirs. Where they align, great. Where they don't, we're following ours.
Let me leave you with this, Mayor. There was a debate there in the halls of the Capitol today about, is it a sanctuary city? No, it's a quote-unquote welcoming city. You call yourself a sanctuary city? Do you embrace the term?
Absolutely. I think trying to come up with ways to not say what you're doing is disingenuous. We are a sanctuary city. We don't apologize for that. We also don't allow the federal government to federalize our local police department. We will not obstruct them, but let me point this out. In the 7 years that our police chief has been the police chief, not one time has ICE called him and said, we're coming to your city, we need your help. None of that has ever happened.
And if Tom Homan calls you, you're saying no go.
Pardon me, say it again?
If Tom Homan calls you, you say, nope, we're not helping.
What we say is we have our priorities and we won't obstruct yours. But we are going to follow our priorities. Home invasions, petty crime, criminal activity involving fentanyl. We have local priorities we're going to work on with our law enforcement. Federal government has other priorities. That's their business.
But and so to be clear, you said that you had an MS-13 problem and you worked with the feds then. So you'll accept the help then, but not when ICE comes to you and says, help us.
It's very interesting. They've never said that to us. In 17 years of our police chief being here, he has never gotten a single call from ICE asking for help. And if they do call us, our answer is we will not obstruct you, but we have other priorities for law enforcement and public safety in the city of Santa Cruz. And we think that's a legally defensible position.
All right, got to leave it there. Fred Keeley is the mayor there in Santa Cruz. Thanks for being with us tonight here on The Hill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, still much more ahead tonight here on The Hill. Did you see that Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett last night? This after a major decision she made today over funding that rattled a lot of conservatives. Why some are now none too thrilled with the president's Supreme Court pick. Plus that big meeting up on the Hill. On the other side of the break, what would you say to Elon Musk? We're back in a few.
For 5 years, the MDA community has pushed the science,
shifted the narrative,
and established the field of neuromuscular medicine.
And until that day when this is all a thing of the past,
you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
Heads up, athletes, coaches, and parents. Play for life, not just points. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or HCM, is the leading cause of sudden cardiac death, especially in black athletes in sports like football or basketball. If you feel shortness of breath, chest pain, and fatigue, or have a family history of HCM, talk to your doctor. Don't let HCM bend you for good. Learn how to stay in the game at heart.org/HCM student athlete. Your heart, your health, your move.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are called amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could provide pencils and paper, help a music class get a guitar,
or even a science project for a classroom like mine.
Learn more at DonorsChoose.org.
Wrinkles, gray hair, and hearing loss are common signs of getting older. But being short of breath, having tightness in your chest, coughing and wheezing are not. If you are experiencing these symptoms, you may be one of the millions of people who are living with a condition called COPD but don't know it. Early diagnosis and treatment can add years of better breathing to your life. For more information, talk to your doctor and visit copdfoundation.org today.
You're listening to The Hill on News Nation. To find News Nation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
At National Geographic Society, we believe in the power of wonder. It drives us to explore, pushes us to see the world differently, moves us to action. And we believe that today, wonder is more essential than ever. Wow. That's why we're supporting a new generation of explorers to ask big questions, make breakthroughs, and bring the future closer. Wonder awaits. Will you join us? Visit natgeo.org/wonder.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Today alone, 5,370 people in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer. That's why Stand Up to Cancer funds and develops the newest and most promising cancer treatments. Stand Up to Cancer wants to provide you with every opportunity to join in this mission. By donating your home, land, or commercial property, you can help Stand Up to Cancer fund innovative cancer research. Stand Up to Cancer makes the process easy, and it may be tax deductible. Visit standuptocancer.org/giveproperty to learn more.
Every day, women like me go to the doctor for annual checkups for conditions like breast cancer. Early detection saved my life. But women with disabilities face a cruel reality: inaccessible medical facilities and equipment.
I went to a doctor's office I was told was accessible, but when I got there, I couldn't get through the front door.
Our veterans deserve better. Help PVA fight for access at pva.org.
Welcome back here to The Hill on News Nation. President Trump's newest message to Hamas, an unusual Ash Wednesday for the Pope. And the president returns to his real estate roots. Our Hannah Brandt here with what's happening on The Hill and more. Hello, Hannah.
Hi, Blake. President Trump is taking a tough stance in a new message to Hamas, despite reports that the U.S. is talking directly to the terrorist organization. Trump posting on Truth Social, quote, "Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it's over for you." The president adding, "Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say." Meanwhile, overseas, an update on Pope Francis this Ash Wednesday. He continues receiving treatment for bilateral pneumonia in a Rome hospital. The Vatican reporting he appears stable, but his overall clinical condition remains complex. And could federal buildings soon go to the highest bidder? Well, yesterday, the Trump administration identified 443 federal properties that could be sold by the government in an effort to save money. That lengthy list included prominent buildings like the FBI headquarters and the U.S. Department of Justice. But today, that list was scrubbed from the General Services Administration website, the website instead saying a new list is coming soon. And that's what's happening on the Hill, Blake.
To take this out of the political realm, commercial real estate right now is going for pennies on the dollar.
Sure.
So it's a good time to be a buyer, but maybe not the right time to be a seller.
And maybe that's why they pulled some of those. We know President Trump loves to say he got the best deal possible, so he's probably keeping a close eye on it here.
Keep our eyes on the list. Hannah Brandt, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, it is almost 6:30 here in Washington tonight. Roughly 30 minutes from now, Elon Musk will meet with Republicans up on Capitol Hill. Recently, quite a few Republicans have faced a little bit of hostility at meetings with their constituents over Musk's cost-cutting measures initiated through DOGE. The Hill, for example, reporting that House Republicans were advised to avoid in-person town halls. Last week, the House Speaker Mike Johnson insisted those interruptions were nothing more than paid protesters.
The videos you saw of the town halls were for paid protesters in many of those places. These are Democrats who went to the events early and filled up the seats.
Joining me now is the Republican congressman from North Carolina, represents the Asheville area, Chuck Edwards. back with us once again here on the Hill. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I was reading in an article in the Mountaineer in your area, you said, quote, "There's no question Elon Musk has gotten a bit ahead of Congress," end quote. You're going to be at the meeting tonight, as I understand it. Would you convey that message directly to Musk? What are you going to tell him if you get the chance?
Well, I appreciate the fact that he's out there and scouring through federal agencies and giving us the ideas that we need to codify our spending. I know a lot of folks are uncomfortable with that, but to break the status quo is often uncomfortable. I appreciate the work that he's doing, and I'm really excited later tonight to hear more about what he's doing.
But what about your concerns, right? There's no question he's gotten a bit ahead of Congress. Why do you have those concerns, and would you tell him that?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a major concern. I just stated it as a matter of fact that it is up to Congress to allocate or appropriate the American taxpayers' funds, and I appreciate the fact that he's out there ahead of us looking at agencies and giving us ideas and the transparency that we were not able to get under the Biden administration.
Are you going to have town halls in person? You're being advised, not you specifically, but Republicans in general are being advised not to. You say you are. Why?
I'm having a town hall next week right there in Asheville, North Carolina. First of all, because my constituents have asked for it. I trust my constituents, even those that I might not agree with. But more than that, I'm proud of what Republicans are accomplishing right now, and I want the opportunity to talk about that. President Trump is keeping his promises. He's closing the border. He's finding savings that we've not been able to find. He's working to restore world peace. He's bringing world leaders to the table to negotiate over items that should have been talked about long time ago.
You say he's keeping his promises. He's also keeping the promise of tariffs. And I was looking at North Carolina, your state. You exported $42 billion worth of goods last year. Canada, the state's largest market for exports. You are the 15th largest state exporter. Do you think these tariffs are good for North Carolinians?
I think that the process of tariffs are a first step in getting people to the table to talk about international trade and relations, where we need countries to come together and work with us closer on a myriad of issues.
But what about the president saying
an opening move, not a final step?
All right, so an opening move, but what about the president basically saying, in the White House saying, endure a little pain now?
Well, there's no question that there's some uncomfortability out there. Again, changing the status quo often creates some uncomfortability. I believe that the American people trust the president, just as they did in his first term when he put tariffs in place, knowing that he was backing up his negotiations by getting foreign countries to do things that they weren't willing to do before, such as buy more American goods.
Chuck Edwards is the Republican from Asheville, headed into that meeting with Elon Musk. Report back to us. Let us know how it goes, Congressman. I'm sure it'll be fascinating inside that room. Thanks for being with us tonight here on the Hill, Congressman Edwards. Thanks.
It will.
All right, live look right now over at the Supreme Court, or a look. Some backlash from conservatives today over today's recent decision rejecting the Trump administration's effort to keep $2 billion worth of foreign aid frozen. The focus of the anger for some, Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She was sworn in 2020 after being picked by President Trump in his first term. Both she and Chief Justice Roberts sided with the liberal justices in a 5-4 decision. NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber joins us now. All right, Jesse, I'm going to get to ACB, as she's known, here in a second, and why there's some backlash for her. But what about the decision today? What did the court decide, and how is this a setback for the Trump White House?
It's a major setback. They ruled against the government. They ruled against the Trump administration because they refused to lift a lower court judge's order that prohibited the federal government from suspending foreign aid. And we're talking about money that now has to conceivably be paid out, $2 billion in reimbursements for work that had already been done. And the Supreme Court instructed the lower court, who issued this order, they now have to give guidance to the federal government about how exactly and when exactly they're going to pay out this money. So it's a big loss to the Trump administration.
So Amy Coney Barrett went against Gorsuch, went against Kavanaugh, the two other Trump picks in the first term. This is not the first time that's happened recently. There was an image last night at the State of the Union address where Trump kind of casually went by her. They had to look at each other. And there's some furor on the right for Amy Coney Barrett. Is it deserved?
Here's the problem. The majority, including Amy Coney Barrett, didn't give a reason why they did this. So this leads people to speculate, was this based on the law? Was this based on a hatred or an anti-Donald Trump perspective, something the government's doing? Look, the argument could be that when you look at the dissent from the conservative justices, they make really good arguments. Their arguments were, A, does a lower court judge have the power to compel the federal government to pay out $2 billion? Talk about the harm to the federal government and the taxpayers. That's $2 billion they are not going to be able to recover. Why not just pause this? Why not just pause everything, allow Donald Trump's administration to brief this, to argue this on the merits, and decide it at a different day? Now, she could have gone that way. She chose not to. And we don't really know what persuaded her and the other justices to go and actually say that the federal government has to pay out this money to uphold the lower court's order. And that's the issue. It could have been maybe it was something on the merits. Maybe it had to do with the fact there was an argument presented that the Donald Trump's administration, the federal government, actually was fighting the wrong order from the judge. We don't know. And because we don't know, that is what leads people to speculate. And obviously, she is getting a lot of backlash for it.
All right, we'll leave it there. Jesse Weber, NewsNation legal contributor. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You got it. Good seeing you.
Still to come, you as well. Still to come tonight here on The Hill. The trade war between the U.S. and China. Did you see what China had to say? And why are they talking about war? Chris Steyerwalt, Mick Mulvaney, join me other side of the break.
Last year, millions watched.
We are not supposed to be doing this.
Monday, two of the most prolific voices in media meet again. Chris Cuomo, Tucker Carlson. The conversation continues on NewsNation Monday.
For years, the MDA community has pushed the science,
shifted the narrative,
and established the field of neuromuscular medicine.
And until that day when this is all a thing of the past,
you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
My name is DeMar Hamlin. I play for the Buffalo Bills, and I play safety. CPR saved my life. I've teamed up with the American Heart Association as a national ambassador to help create a nation of lifesavers, turning bystanders into lifesavers through CPR education and access to AEDs. Nearly 3 out of 4 cardiac arrests that don't happen in hospitals happen in homes. Join me to ensure everyone has the chance to live longer, healthier lives. Visit heart.org/nation.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
When a parent sees their child smile, they see hope. Aleem hoped that his son Rajib would have an easier life than he had. You see, Rajib, just like his father, was born with a cleft. But thanks to Smile Train, both father and son received free, life-changing surgeries, transforming their smiles into symbols of hope. To learn more and support the Global Cleft community, visit smiletrain.org/learn. Smile Train, changing the world one smile at a time.
You're listening to NewsNation, America's independent source for unbiased news. To get NewsNation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
At National Geographic Society, we believe in the power of wonder. It drives us to explore, pushes us to see the world differently, moves us to action. And we believe that today, wonder is more essential than ever. Wow. That's why we're supporting a new generation of explorers to ask big questions, make breakthroughs, and bring the future closer. Wonder awaits. Will you join us? Visit natgeo.org/wonder.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
We are not supposed to be doing this.
Monday, two of the most prolific voices in media meet again. Chris Cuomo, Tucker Carlson. The conversation continues on NewsNation Monday.
Every once in a while we get them right, don't you know? The take I wrote for The Hill that popped into your inbox this morning, hopefully, started with China. I wrote last night after this show aired at about 7:30. I wrote this take, and here's what China said at 10:48. If war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we are ready to fight it to the end. This on the same day China increased its military budget by a whopping 7.2%. So here's your reminder. It's what I wrote in the take last night. No matter what happens with Canada and Mexico, and there could be a lot on the tariff front, China is what we should be keeping our eyes on because it's probably going to stay the story for quite some time. Mick Mulvaney, NewsNation contributor, former chief of staff in the Trump White House, with me now. So too, Chris Stirewalt, host of The Hill Sunday Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Hello to you both.
Heck yeah.
Hello,
Heck yeah.
Berman. Trump sees that post. You were the former chief. He sees that post. China's talking about war. Trump thinks what? And how do you decode what China says there?
Let me tell you what I'd take about it. And I know that's not your question. What else is China going to say? That's a throwaway line, right? Where they say, oh, my goodness, we're not ready for war with the United States of any fashion. That's not going to. The part that gets my attention is the dramatic increase in defense spending. How did we beat the Soviet Union? We made the calculated determination that we could bankrupt them, that we could engage in an arms race and spend a bunch of money that they didn't have. And we were right. I see a number like that, and I wonder what the Chinese are thinking, if they think that maybe they can sort of push us in the same direction. Don't think they can, but that's what stands out to me, and that's what I'd relay to the president. Mr. President, ignore what they just said, the rhetoric. Look at what they're actually spending, because that gets my attention.
So we've had one of these things before with China, 2018, 2019, and then COVID hit. So we sort of have a sense, Chris, of how this played out the last time. You're looking for what going forward?
Well, Donald Trump would have been reelected to a second term had it not been for COVID and his response to it. I believe that very much. But also, we remember COVID disrupted a trend that was taking place in the world and in economies. The U.S. economy was already stagnant going into it. We had 2%, 1.9% GDP growth. Things had stalled out. There was the early growth right after the tax cuts, and then things sort of stalled out. And the trade problems were becoming greater and greater. I'm listening to a lot of Republicans tell me, I just heard the congressman you interviewed earlier in the show, and he said, well, we did it before, nothing happened. So it'll be okay again. We can do it again. And the thing that I think Republicans need to grapple with The world is a very different place in 2025 than it was in 2017. There is inflation now. There was not substantial inflation before. The world is a different place.
Did Trump blink today on the auto tariffs with Canada and Mexico? Or is this art of the deal and this is bottom of the second inning?
Here's what is going on in Washington, D.C. right now. If you are a lobbyist, this is the golden, I don't know if it's a golden age for the country, but this is a golden age for K Street. This is a golden age for lobbying. This is when you say, we're putting these tariffs in because tariffs are good. Well, no, they're not good for this. Now, and then Trump even dangled. He even said today, there's other exceptions for people that we like. We're going to create other exceptions for people that we like. So what's happening in Washington right now is people are trying to catch up to Trump. They're trying to hire a Republican who has access to Trump so that they can try to get exceptions.
Give you the last word here.
You're going to see it for 4 years. He loves it when he have people come to the White House and ask him for things. He just does. So maybe that's human nature. But yeah, I get asked all the time, are things going to calm down on tariffs? No. For the next 4 years, anytime he gets an answer out of a country he doesn't like, tariffs is going to be where he goes immediately.
All right. Hang around. Other side of the break. Nick, Chris, thank you. Coming up, what's in an interview? How a simple comment can mean billions of dollars. Plus, Elon on the Hill. Big meetings with Republican lawmakers. A warning to Republicans as well about town halls. This all comes during the report of more layoffs. What's going on at the VA? We'll get into all of it. And one lawmaker kicked out of the speech last night. The leading Democrat calling for the party to organize and hold Republicans accountable. Full panel. Other side with what went down.